Instead of a safe flight path up McMurdo Sound, it took them on a direct track for Mount Erebus. Days before the flight, the captain personally plots the course on a geographical map. He knew where he was going. The night before the flight, the destination coordinates are changed 27 miles, putting it right behind a 12,500-foot mountain. But no one told them. So how could they miss where they were visually? And this photo that's just come up, is an artist's impression of what the crew would have seen on a clear day if they had flown up the McMurdo Sound. You can see here again, this is the sea ice, a little bit of sea here in the foreground, and then in the distance and off to the sides you can just see a little bit of textured relief of the landmass ahead. And then the next slide, again the artist's impression of what this would look like on an overcast day. So now we have again the sea ice, but of course with the white overcast you almost lose completely any texture that's available in the background, and we just have coming up the side of McMurdo Sound here a little bit of texture on the cliffs. If we contrast that to the next slide, which is the view up Lewis Bay, you can see out in the front again the sea ice, a little bit of sea, the cliffs down the side, but of course on a clear day Mount Erebus 12,500 feet clearly visible to the right in the background. On an overcast day, this is the view that would be expected to be seen. Clear sea ice, the distance horizon with Mount Erebus obscured, and just a little bit of textured relief on the left and right hand side of the bay. The deception shown in the artist's impression you have just seen was clearly demonstrated to Justice Mann, heading the Royal Commission on his visit to Antarctica when he flew to Mount Erebus 1 year after the accident. Remember the slides we have just seen, as the next slides will consecutively show what was actually photographed from his helicopter as it flew on a constant heading towards Mount Erebus. And Glenn, if we can just have one at a time and we'll just work through them as they come up, thanks. This one here, obviously Justice Mann stepping into the helicopter at McMurdo Sound. And then the next one, out of the front of the helicopter, they're now just flying on a constant heading up Lewis Bay towards Mount Erebus. There's Mount Erebus in the background. The weather slowly starts to change. The overcast comes in, still flying on the same heading towards Mount Erebus. You can just see in the background there the outline of Mount Erebus. Below now, just a little bit of clear sky, but mainly overcast in front. Just the textured cliffs around the head of the bay. And finally, sector whiteout. Just the slightest impression of the cliffs on either side, a distance horizon where the overcast sky merges in with the sea ice, and remembering that these are actual photos taken out of the helicopter as Justice Mann flew up Lewis Bay towards Mount Erebus. Justice Mann was now satisfied that sector whiteout was part of the trap. In telling the story of Erebus, there are three people history has cast in pivotal roles. These three men will forever be tied together, each dependent on the other two for the cause of the accident to finally be discovered. Captain Jim Collins, commander of TE901. Jim had 5 special ladies in his life: Maria, his wife, and their 4 daughters, Catherine, Elizabeth, Philippa, and Adrian. Jim's daughters are here with us today. I spoke to Maria last week, and she sends her apologies as she's tramping down in the South Island. She says, "You don't need me up there." She said, "You've got Jim's 4 beautiful daughters, and I'm sure he'll be smiling down on them as they're at the presentation, while this old biddy trudges through the mud in Southland." Jim's brother Jeff and sister Sue and her husband have also joined us today. Welcome to you all. We'll shortly hear from Catherine as we recognise the recipient of the Jim Collins Award. Captain Gordon Vetty. Gordon is also with us this morning with his wife Charmaine, his son Mark and daughter Catherine. Gordon, a colleague of Jim's, a former NZ-ALPA president and now honorary life member, sacrificed his pilot career to help find the answers as to why, on a clear day, a modern jetliner with an experienced and professional crew would fly straight into a mountain.